as football is starting up on, well, it's already started really, but for the rest of us, it's starting this week. Starts tomorrow night. Bob, we've got Big Ten football tomorrow night.
Indeed, we do. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to go come on down to IU and then go to Purdue. I guess Purdue's Friday night, right? Or wait,
So Purdue's tomorrow night.
Purdue's tomorrow night, and IU is Friday night. So I'll be at both games, and I'll write something Saturday. Just kind of putting both those things into some perspective to the degree that I'm capable of that. And yeah, it's fun. I now I don't have to watch HGTV anymore. Football is starting.
I was going to say that's got to be exciting.
Rare that you can go to an Indiana or a Purdue then an Indiana football game.
What's that?
It's rare that you can go to
both
a Purdue and an Indiana football game unless one happened to be at home and playing an early day game, and a late night game at some time.
Yeah. No, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we're going to learn so much about Indiana here in the first week. Well, really, we're going to learn a ton about both teams because, I mean, Purdue coming off a 9-4 season and that incredible bowl win over Tennessee. They got a stud quarterback coming back, which is something that obviously IU doesn't enjoy that advantage. And then we're going to find out a ton about IU because Illinois is pretty much in the same boat. They're coming off a 5-7 season. And IU, to me, and I wrote this in The Athletic today, I mean, this is no great insight, but they're a total mystery team with, 13 guys off the portal, 5 new coaches, a new quarterback, presumably, in Connor Bazelak. So we're going to learn a hell of a lot here in the next day or so.
And what's interesting to me about these two games, Bob, is that I think from the perspective, at least from the fan standpoint, is that Indiana has a lot more to lose in this game than Purdue does. I mean, you look at Purdue's playing Penn State. It's a non-division game. If you lose that game, you still have a chance. I think people still think Purdue can be pretty good even if they lose to Penn State at home. Whereas on the Indiana side, also, it's not a division game, obviously, but at the same time, if you're not able to get a win over Illinois, as I've said multiple times and starting to sound like a broken record until we see football, you try to find the wins on that schedule with so many teams improving. You wonder where the wins are going to come from if you can't get past Illinois at home.
I agree. I mean, if they beat Illinois, they're going to win 5 or 6 games this year. I think if they lose to Illinois at home, we're looking at another pretty dreadful season. Maybe 4 wins, because again, after you get past these first three games, this schedule gets pretty angry, and I mean, so much is going to depend on whether, the offensive line can hold up. So much is going to depend on what Bazelak can give them, assuming he's the quarterback. I think defensively they'll be okay, but boy, it's so hard for me to get rid of the memory of losing 38-6 or 38-3, whatever it was, to Rutgers at home.
Yeah, that one was
that one leaves a mark, man.
That was a wooden stake in the heart.
Right, or another body part. Yeah, so yeah, that was pretty bad. So I think Tom Allen is the right guy for this job. I think he'll get things turned around. But as I said this morning in The Athletic, I don't think that 2020 was a complete fluke, because of the pandemic and the fact that so many teams were down. I think 2021 going, 2-10, I thought that was a fluke.
Yeah.
I think the team they really are, they're closer to the first 3 teams that Tom Allen had. 5-7, 5-7, 8-5, 8-5. So I think they'll return closer to that 5-7 mark, which is not super inspiring, but you think about the recruiting job they did in 2020. Those kids will start to come of age, and I think they'll be better as time goes on.
And that's the thing now. And we had the chance to meet with Scott Dolson, the athletic director, Monday. And that one of the things I asked him was about NIL. And that I know that we're talking apples and oranges with basketball and football, and you can't just do everything at once. I get that. And things have kind of been geared towards basketball, and it's easier to get that one going quicker. And it matters more. So, and it would probably be easier to get football going if you already had basketball going. So I see and understand the trajectory. But my question was, is there a plan to start doing things on the football side? And of course there is, and they will, but it'll be interesting to see what that actually turns out to be.
Well, I mean, my question would be, who do you, if you're an advertiser or you're a business, who do you want to do business with on the IU football team? You know, I mean, you got Tywan Mullen, you got a couple of good players, but you know, there's no TJD on that team. Is what I'm saying. I'm not sure that.
Well, it's more about helping to land. I think it's more about helping to land those guys than doing that with them after the fact.
Okay. Yeah. No, I would agree. And look, everybody's.
And that's not something that the AD can talk about because
it's outside.
The NIL is nothing to do with officially the schools.
Officially, yes.
Yeah.
That was two hands. So where's the other hand? There it is.
Yeah, it is holding my coffee.
Yes. There it is. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, these days you've got to have the infrastructure established to get those kids. I mean, it feels weird being an old guy. Look.
Old guy without connection. Hey, he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. I forgot what the hell I was talking about.
Said you last time I heard you say you were being an old guy.
Oh yeah. Just I believe that these kids should get more than what they're getting. I do believe that. And I'm in favor of NIL. I've always been in favor of NIL since the lawsuit many years ago. But they've got to put themselves in better position to draw these guys. I mean, to bring them in, bring in high caliber guys.
I just don't know. To me, I wonder if that's going to be much of a possibility. I mean, because one of the things I look at Jordan Addison as an example, who left, he had the Biletnikoff winner, had an opportunity, from what we've heard, was offered millions of dollars, and I don't know where the reporting stood on that, but goes to USC and joins Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, all those guys out there. I could see that hindering Indiana. If you get a big-time player, who's to stop a booster or somebody from Miami, Florida State, wherever it might be, to come in and try to poach those players with the transfer portal rules? So I'm not saying doom and gloom, but I'm saying, to me, I don't know how Indiana on the football side is going to be competitive with some of those schools, because now with kind of the wild, wild west going on, somebody has a great season and all of a sudden you've got 30 different boosters or advertisers or whatever who are big Georgia Bulldogs fans hitting up his text line, phone calls, all that stuff. I think it's hard for a school like Indiana to get into that game.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's a little bit sad. I mean, I'm in favor again of the kids getting paid and getting taken care of, but I think it increases the difference between the haves and the have-nots is just going to get exacerbated. You know, it's just going to get worse and worse. And I think that the Georgias and the Alabamas and everybody else, they're just going to start poaching guys who show some promise at the Indiana level or the Illinois level or whatever. You're absolutely right. And so it's going to be tough for a school like Indiana to sustain anything, but they've got to get the right guys in here. And like I said, 2020, they had a terrific recruiting class. So we'll see where that goes.
You know, one of the things that Scott Dolson was also asked about was we talk about legislation for NIL. Should there be congressional legislation, state laws that helps? And he was asked about that, and he said that from their perspective, they would rather be able to do this without state law intervention, without being limited somehow. Which that I get it, because otherwise now you're back to equaling the playing field, and some of these teams don't want you to equal the playing field.
That's exactly right. I do think they need guardrails, whether it's legislative guardrails or NCAA guardrails. This thing could spiral out of control a little bit. I think that's definitely a possibility. As long as those guardrails are up, I don't care if it comes from the NCAA. I don't care if it comes from the legislature. Just as long as everybody's playing on a level playing field throughout the country. And
think about this. You mentioned the NCAA, whether it comes from either or. The difference is you break an NCAA rule, you got nobody chasing nobody. You break a real law, now.
Yeah, now you got problems.
Now we're looking at something completely different in college athletics that we would have ever been looking at before.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point, Jim.
Well, I mean,
it
didn't stop Louisville.
What's that?
Didn't stop Louisville. I mean, there's a number of places that broke laws that for whatever reason haven't been punished. So I don't know if it would but I mean, at least there's a little bit
laws
more
or rules though.
I mean, people went to jail and got arrested, did they not?
Well, that was not Louisville people. That was the Adidas guys.
Okay,
Code and those folks. But they were doing other things. They were all kinds of stuff that they were getting into. But yeah, so and every time we seem to see legislators get involved, it seems like it goes the other way and screws stuff up. Because most of them, 90% of them, have no clue as to this environment and what's going on and how it works and this and that. And they just jump in and, let's make a law. Let me be a part of college athletics all of a sudden.
Right. I agree with you.
I think the biggest thing that if they would just change one thing about the transfer portal, I don't know what the answer is, but to me, the biggest issue is I don't really care how teams recruit. If that's going to be an asset to me, if you have a guy that's willing to offer some of these kids maybe like a commercial deal or whatever, I'm just using that as an example. That's, to me, really not much different than look at the facility that Clemson has or Alabama has compared to a Purdue or an Indiana. I mean, there's a ton of money invested in those. Those offer certain opportunities that other schools can't. So to me, that's not a big difference. But when you're on a campus and you've committed to a team and all of a sudden you've got somebody knocking on your door,
right?
$5 million, to me, that makes a difference. So I think it's got to be something with the transfer portal, because if it's an Indiana kid, that staff went out and recruited, they developed, they got the production, and then he's just going to be able to go. And I understand the argument that coaches do that all the time. So I don't know that blocking transfers is the right answer, but there's got to be some sort of guardrail in that department. And I think that would alone help Indiana quite a bit.